Welcome to The Record Show, your virtual spin around the vinyl industry. Brought to you by Radio Wasteland Records. Yes, Midland has a record store. Here's your host, Jim Gleason.
Greetings from the Wasteland, and welcome to another edition of The Record Show. We are going deep to the wells for today's episode, both HG and Orson, for a Halloween trick that turned into a vinyl treat. But first, joining us once again on The Record Show is Ken Norton from Ingram Entertainment to cover the highlights of this week's new releases. Ken, how are you today?
Doing well, Jim. How are you?
Good, thank you. We got a busy one. Holy cow, there's a lot of stuff dropping this week.
Well, there sure is. It's a good time of year when things are just popping out the door every day. There's a lot of new releases scheduled. Of course, they come out on Fridays, and this Friday, big list of titles. Why don't we start with the new artists, new records? War on Drugs have a brand new record, and there is a indie exclusive translucent blue vinyl version of that coming out this Friday. There is a new Bella Fleck record, not with the Flecktones, but with some luminaries from the bluegrass world, and that's all brand new music that comes out this week.
Some great bluegrass coming out lately too, and Bella Fleck is among the artists. He's a virtuoso on the banjo.
Oh yeah, there's seemingly nothing he can't do on the banjo. We have a new Mastodon record. This one's called Hushed and Grim, and the indie stores have a exclusive color clear vinyl version. And then some classics are coming out, new packages also from some classic artists. Let's see, just got on the list here. Starship has a Greatest Hits relaunched on purple vinyl. There's a Danzig 5 Black Acid Devil record. This too is a reissue on 2 LPs from 1996. I don't believe you've been able to find that for some period of time. The 25th anniversary of REM's New Adventures in Hi-Fi is this year, and they're celebrating with a 2 LP set that's newly remastered. And also there's some, if you wanted to order them, there's a special super deluxe edition with unreleased material as well.
Cool.
Bad Company's Holy Water coming out on 180 gram clear blue vinyl. Alice Cooper's Killer coming out on 180 gram vinyl for the 50th anniversary.
Now that's hard to believe. 50 years on that. It doesn't seem possible, but again, 25 for REM as well.
It doesn't. I mean, time flies. Some of these records just hold their water extremely well. They sound current, even though they're not, they were made so many years ago. And I definitely think those are a couple of those. The Whitney Houston, you haven't probably been able to find Whitney on vinyl very much, at least in new pressings. And this is a 2-record best of set called I Will Always Love You. And Whitesnake's Restless Heart gets a new remix for 2021. It's on 180 gram vinyl and silver. And there's a best of Motorhead called Everything Louder Forever on 2 LPs. Comes out this week. And finally, Halloween, just in time for Halloween. Pink Bubbles Go Ape coming out on any exclusive pink and black splattered vinyl.
That looks like it's a fun one as well. And just as you said, in time for that. And was there also a Pink Floyd, I think, Momentary Lapse of Reason dropping this week as well, I think?
Somehow just went right past that one. Yes, in fact, this one's been redone to a degree. It's been remixed and re-recorded with some new drum tracks and additional original keyboard parts that were not in the original mix, or they were buried. So evidently, producers David Gilmour and Bob Ezrin wanted to restore a creative balance between all the instruments.
I.e., they wanted to tone down Roger's part a little bit. And
well, yeah, okay.
We won't go there. That's a whole nother subject. Well, cool. Well, thanks, Ken. Everything is on track for Black Friday. That's coming up very quickly as well.
It sure is. Yes, it is absolutely coming up. And boy, about 125 to 150 titles that are only available this Black Friday this year in about a month.
Cool. Things are looking good from your guys' end, or is still too soon to tell?
Well, things are looking good. We don't know which titles are going to be more rare than others at this point. We're still waiting to hear exactly how many we will get of each title. So
And then the allocation begins, and we won't see you for a couple of weeks once that starts.
yeah, I'll be very busy.
That's all
Yes,
right. We understand, as we will be too on the back end of that. Well, Ken, thank you, though, for taking the time today to cover this week's new releases, and hopefully we can catch up again next week.
great, love to.
On October 30th of 1938, actor, playwright, radio producer, and soon-to-be filmmaker Orson Welles released an alien invasion on the United States. Well, kind of. The night before Halloween that year, Welles and his Mercury Theater on the Air presented a contemporary adaptation of H.G. Wells' novel War of the Worlds. This was the 17th episode of Mercury's CBS radio series, and undoubtedly the most memorable and/or infamous. Radio was still in its early years then, and was the main source of entertainment and immediate information for the entire country. Wells' take on the Martian invasion was set in the eastern United States, New Jersey to be exact, and the style he chose to present the broadcast mimicked that of a traditional music show, interrupted with breaking news segments of a progressively worsening situation of Martians sweeping across the eastern seaboard, destroying everything and killing everyone in their path. By several accounts, it was the style of the broadcast that caused widespread panic, as listeners either missed the announcements that they were listening to a piece of fiction or came in late to the show, hearing about the carnage midway through.
We now return you to Carl Phillips at Grover's Mill.
Ladies and gentlemen, am I on? Ladies and gentlemen, here I am, back of a stone wall that adjoins Mr. Wilmer's garden. From here, I get a sweep of the whole scene. I'll give you every detail as long as I can talk and as long as I can see. More state police have arrived. They're drawing up a cordon in front of the pit. About 30 of them. No need to push the crowd back now. They're willing to keep their distance. The captain's conferring with someone. Can't quite see who. Oh, yes, I believe it's Professor Pearson. Yes, it is. Now they've parted, and the professor moves around one side, studying the object, while the captain and two policemen advance with something in their hands. I can see it now. It's a white handkerchief tied to a pole. Flag of truce. If those creatures know what that means, what anything means. Wait a minute, something's happening. Humped shape is rising out of the pit. I can make out a small beam of light against a mirror. What's that? There's a jet of flame springing from the mirror, and it leaps right at the advancing men. It strikes them head on. Lord, they're turning into flames. Now the whole field's caught up by the woods, the barns, the gas tanks of the automobiles, spreading everywhere. It's coming this way now, about 20 yards to my right.
Ladies and gentlemen, due to circumstances beyond our control, we are unable to continue the broadcast from Grover's Mill. Evidently, there's some difficulty with our field transmission.
And this is where Wells got into a bit of trouble. Throughout the hour-long program, there were only 3 announcements to tell people that they were listening to a work of fiction. One at the beginning of the show, another at the halfway mark, and then in a wrap-up at the end by Wells himself. Reportedly, things were so bad that CBS made Wells apologize in a press conference the next morning. Wells said he had no idea that his program would cause panic.
Radio is new, and we are learning about the effect it has on people. Of course, we are deeply shocked and deeply regretful about the results of last night's broadcast.
Now, personally speaking, I think that Wells knew exactly what he was doing. In fact, I really don't even buy the apology all these years later. I think that was just all part of his promotional campaign for the Mercury Theater on the Air. And now, all of these years later, I'm even beginning to believe that the level of panic was a bit exaggerated at the time. There are theories out there that say that while people were panicked about the broadcast, the majority believed that it was an invasion by Nazi Germany onto the eastern seaboard and not Martians. Either way, I think Wells was relishing in this infamy. He rode this to some more successful radio dramas and eventually into a film career, which led to the creation of Citizen Kane. So what does all this have to do with records? Well, You may have seen this out and about many, many times before, and this is a vinyl version copy of that original radio transcription from 1938. Now, the War of the Worlds broadcast was originally released on vinyl in 1955, but these are the versions that we see more commonly if you're out looking for used records. This one was a Longines Symphony release from 1968, and then there was another gatefold double album release of the album put out by Evolution Records in 1969. The sound quality of any of the copies that you may find out there are really dependent upon that transcription from 1938, and overall the quality is fairly decent. Now, there could be some modern cleanups of this, but if you do get a chance to find it, it is a great Halloween listen. And when you run across copies of either the Longines Symphony or the Evolution version of this, they're not very expensive, usually in the $4 to $5 range, maybe upwards of $10 if they're in really, really nice condition. I've never seen a copy of the original 1955 album, but that's also not very outrageous when you look at the Discogs pricing on them. Yes, I know you could listen to this entire thing on YouTube. The entirety of the broadcast is there, as well as numerous other dissections of Welles' attempt at scaring the nation. But I'll tell you what, listening to it on vinyl helps recreate that feeling of listening to this on your radio in 1938.
This is Orson Welles, ladies and gentlemen, out of character, to assure you that the War of the Worlds has no further significance than as the holiday offering it was intended to be. The Mercury Theater's own radio version of dressing up in a sheet and jumping out of a bush and saying boo. Starting now, we couldn't soap all your windows and steal all your garden gates by tomorrow night, so we did the best next thing. We annihilated the world before your very ears and utterly destroyed the CBS. You will be relieved, I hope, to learn that we didn't mean it and that both institutions are still open for business. So goodbye, everybody, and remember, please, for the next day or so, the terrible lesson you learned tonight. That grinning, glowing, globular invader of your living room is an inhabitant of the pumpkin patch, and if your doorbell rings and nobody's there, that was no Martian, it's Halloween.
Round like a record, baby, round, 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 round. You spin me right round, baby, right round like a record, baby, round, 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 round.
Thanks for watching The Record Show. If you haven't done so yet, please make sure to subscribe to the Radio Wasteland Records YouTube channel. And be sure to hit that notifications bell so you'll be alerted every time we upload new content.